Today is the 28th of November, 2000. When did you come?
I came with the family in 1935. Think of all those years ago. We came from Ireland in our old car. I think it was a Jowett. We had some chickens with us and 2 dogs and probably a cat, although I don't remember about the cat, but we had 2 dogs and half a dozen hens, and the hens were on the carrier at the back, all strapped on. They had to come with us. We couldn't leave our hens behind. I still have hens. And we arrived, I suppose it was June. And it was very warm. We were surprised how warm it was, because obviously it was about 10 degrees warmer than Ireland, where we came from. And we came because things were getting a bit nasty in Ireland, even then. Where the local priest used to come and play chess with my father after dark.
Of course, yes.
Because he didn't dare to come in daylight. And next morning we would find the skulls and crossbones so painted on the gate. So I think we thought, and also my mother's brother was a rector in Cambridge.
Cambridge, yes, I remember.
The Neil family. And he suggested, he said, Olive, why don't you come over? There's a parish vacant, Dry Drayton. So my father came and had a look and said, yes, we'll come. And when we arrived, of course, the old rectory was completely empty, no furniture, and we didn't bring any furniture with us.
You didn't?
No, we sold everything, even my little rocking chair that we brought from America, which I was very sad about.
How old were you, Violet?
I was 12, 13, nearly coming on 13. And we stayed with the Frohawks in the rectory farm.
Oh, yeah.
For about a week, and we went to various auctions and bought beds and some furniture.
That sounds familiar.
And yes, settled ourselves in. It was a bit awesome because there were no trees, I thought, around. Having come from Ireland, where it was very wooded where we lived, although of course there are trees around, but somehow it didn't seem, the countryside seemed, well, it was flat, of course, and we left the hills behind. So it didn't feel like home for quite a long time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, how did you first come to Dry Drayton? Do tell us why you came and how you came.
Well, why? It was because my mother and I had to leave London in a hurry because my father had died in office, and in those days a vicar had to be out in 3 weeks of the vicar's family.
Goodness.
And an aunt in Cambridge very kindly gave us a home, and we didn't know what to do with the furniture, and she said, oh, I know an old vicarage outside Cambridge, and they've got some spare rooms, they'll house it for you. So all our furniture came to your house, and what was then the billiard room,
yes,
was filled with our furniture, and my father's secretary, who was then living with us, her furniture went into the maids' bedrooms, was it, along the side?
Along the back.
And even into the onion room. And I think the overflow from ours went into there.
What year was that?
1940, November 40.
So the war was on.
The war was indeed on, yes.
Yes.
And there was a raid in Cambridge that night. My mother said, oh goodness, they followed us here. But that's nothing to do with Drayton. And then one day we needed to look at things to see if we could find what we needed for our living with my aunt. So we came out to look amongst the furniture and introduce ourselves to you.
Yes.
We've known you ever since, and you've been very good friends ever since.
I don't remember how we came by Bury, but we had a small, rather nice little green cart.
Yeah.
And we went to Madingley in the cart for some reason, and coming through Madingley village, and when we got to the turn left into Dry Drayton, Bury took off. He just took the bit between his mouth and went. And he galloped the whole way back to Dry Drayton, the whole way, non-stop. Luckily, there weren't any cars in those days.
Not many.
Not many. And as a matter of fact, the road to Madingley didn't have a hard surface. I think it still was gravel. Certainly was when we came here first. But he just galloped the whole way, non-stop, round the bends by the church.
Well, he knew the way.
We lost bits of the cart as we went along. By the time we arrived back in the old rectory yard, we were missing a wheel and half of the cart. It just fallen to bits.
I trust it was a 4-wheel cart, wasn't it?
No, 2 wheels, 2 big wheels. One of them eventually went up to Fred Walker's cottage. They call it the wheel cottage. He asked for the wheel. I mean, the cart could never repair it. It was just absolutely,
not, no.
when he arrived back, but even through the gateway and everything, he was still going hell for leather. There was no stopping him. And I just sat there sort of holding the reins. I can't remember
Hanging on to
worrying too much. I just thought, well, I mean,
like
I
you.
tried pulling him up, but I suppose he wasn't going to. He was a wild little pony.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And probably he'd never been put in a cart before.
Oh, that was a bit risky. When Arthur and I got married, we moved to a little tiny cottage at Hardwick, and we moved our furniture from this house here, the big house, by pony and trap.
Yes.
Your pony and your trap. Trotted it along the Dry Drayton road.
It was fun.
To Hardwick, and going up the road, which was very up and down, and the furniture sort of jumping up and down on the trap.
Yes.
As the ponies knew the way.
Oh,
He
yes.
used to go over to see Mrs.
Yes.
his owner. And I used to come up fairly often and look for things. And one day we were looking, I think it was possibly in the onion room, and there were two very large baskets with lids, which are theatrical baskets. And you said, "What's in there?" You remember what you said?
Yes.
And I told you that it was the costumes for the big nativity pageant we'd done in London.
Yes. Yes. And then
You said, "Why can't we do it here?" And we did.
And we did, yes.
Yes, indeed we did.
Oh, that was so much fun, wasn't it?
Oh, it was indeed, yes.
Setting up the lights. And,
Unfortunately, we have no photographs of that first year's production, but we do have of the second. Well, the first year, Violet played Gabriel and stood on a harmonium behind a curtain to come out and say, "Hail."
see, I can remember you singing.
Oh, I sang the
Jesus.
first song, yes. Bob Bliss did Gabriel.
Oh,
Do you
Bob
remember?
Bliss. No, I do now
Bob Bliss
because
did Gabriel.
yes,
And the second year, I think it was, Joyce and Geoffrey Day did Mary and Joseph.
oh yes, and of course Leo must have done the narration.
Leo
then.
did the narration
Yes.
when Arthur was playing the organ.
Yes,
And your dear Leo put up blackout curtains made of, well, screens really.
Sisal.
Of
That's
sizeled paper,
yes,
painted black,
yes,
on all the big windows
To the
and
top.
the little ones at the top.
yes.
And used to let them down. Otherwise, we should have been highly illegal. Mind you, we didn't have proper lights.
No, but he fixed up something, didn't he? I can remember him fixing up one light, but then no, we had just the lamps because I can remember turning the
We
lamp
had
up.
no electricity,
No.
dear.
No, we turned the lamp up at the organ and turned it down.
There was somebody with a script at each light, turning it up and down according
That's
to
right.
as
Yes.
required. We did actually have one spotlight, but you see there was no electricity.
Or on a battery. I think they
We had a battery for that.
Yes.
And Ted fixed up some sort, your brother Ted fixed up one overhead light for the last scene to give it a little extra lamp light.
Yes.
We took the clothes from the play to do it in Chesterton, and we took those on a pony and trap with candle side lights. And I don't think it was legal, but at least we were lit.
Well, you weren't supposed to show much light, were you? Because of the blackout.
They were shielded, so they didn't have too much light.
No.
But I'm sure it wasn't legal. And you had a little dog called Fritz.
Yes.
And Fritz loved to run under the trap.
Yes, he did.
Do you remember?
Yes.
And he ran all the way into Cambridge with us under the trap.
He adopted us, yes.
Yes. And when we were in Cambridge one time, driving this thing up Petticury, because it was both ways in those days, one of the traces broke, and the shaft was going towards a shop window, and mercifully somebody on the side, on the path, took hold of the horse and pulled it away.
Oh.
Because I had no control over it by then.
No. How did you mend it to get out?
Well, we tied it up with string of some sort and
Yes.
brought her home anyway.